Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about how to write a system of linear inequalities from a graph. So in a previous video we talked about how to solve a system of linear inequalities. So if you want to check that out, look up in the top right hand corner right now. So in this video we are already presented with a graph that has the shading given to us. So we want to write the two inequalities that would give us this graph. So let's look at our two lines. First of all, let's start with our solid line, right? So we see this line right here, solid line, and it's a horizontal line. So because of that, we know that it's going to be like y equals a number, right? So we would start with something like this. Let me switch up my color here. So let's go like, for example, y equals, and it's crossing at 2. So y equals 2. Now we know obviously this is an inequality, so it's not going to be equals, but it's going to be one of our inequality symbols. We know it's going to be or equal to because it's a solid line. So now we want to look and see where the shading is. If the shading is below the line, then it's less. If it's above the line, then it's a greater than sign. So here the shading is below our line. So because of this, we are going to say that we have less than or equal as our inequality. Okay, so we have y is less than or equal to 2. Now for the next line we have, we see it right here that it is a dashed line. So we know that it's going to be just a greater than or it's going to be a less than. So we're going to start off by writing the equation. So let's say y equals, and we see the y-intercept of 1 and the slope is down 1, right 1. So we're going to say negative x plus 1, okay? And so now we need to figure out our inequality symbol. And so we know that it's a dashed line, so it's going to be just less than or greater than. Our shading now is above, kind of like to the right, so that's going to be greater than, all right? So if it was to the left of the line or below the line, then it would be a less than symbol. So these are our two inequalities that represent our system, okay? And once we have this, we can always choose a test point to make sure that this is true. So if I have y is less than or equal to 2, if we choose our origin as our test point, then we should say 0 is less than or equal to 2, and that is true, so we shaded below the line. And for our second one, if we choose the origin, we would have 0 is greater than negative 0 plus 1. So 0 is greater than 1, and that is false. So we would shade the opposite part that the origin is not a part of. And that's where we have our shading. So we know that our two inequalities are correct. Okay. One more example. Let's start once again with this solid line right here. Now it's a vertical line, so we know that's x equals a number. And it looks like we're going through negative 1, 2, 3. So x equals negative 3. And now let's figure out our inequality symbol. It's a solid line, so we know it is going to be or equal to. So now we just need to figure out less than or greater than. Our shading is to the right of our line. So right is going to be greater than. So we have x is greater than or equal to negative 3. And the last one that we're going to look at is this line we have down here. And let's see if we can tell what our y-intercept is. Let me take away the shading just for a minute. And we can see that our y-intercept is negative 1, 2, 3. So let's say y equals, and our slope is up 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3, right? So 2/3 x minus 3, okay? And now let's operate under the assumption that all of this is shaded up here, right? We had to take it away so we could kind of see what our graph looked like, all right? But we had all of this as the shaded area, okay? All right, so now let's take a look at our inequality symbols. So for our second inequality, we're going to erase the equal sign. It's a dashed line, so we know it's either less than or it is greater than. Our shading is above the line, so it should be greater than 2/3 x minus 3. So these are our two inequalities, and once again we can choose a test point. Let's choose the origin right in here. So let's say 0 is greater than or equal to negative 3. That's true, right? So we shaded to the right of that vertical line. And over here we're going to say 0 is greater than 2/3 times 0 minus 3. 0 is greater than negative 3. That's also true, so we shaded in the portion that had the inequality, or that had the origin. That was our test point. Okay, so we know these two inequalities are good, and that's how we write a system of linear inequalities from a graph.